Working for you. A weekly talk radio program which highlights developments of national interest and the activities of your St. Kitts Nevis government. Join host Roy Williams as he presents news, views, reports, and interviews about everything regarding the activities of the Team Unity government and the building of our communities and the development of St. Kitts Nevis. Tune in and call in to interact with your government and share your views regarding the upward forward development of your community and our beautiful Twin Island Federation. Working for You is weekly, every Wednesday live from 1:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. on ZIZ Radio, Win FM, and Sugar City FM with rebroadcast on participating stations. Working for You.
Good afternoon and welcome to another edition of Working for You, this weekly radio program that provides the opportunity for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis to interact with their government. Of course, we know the Team Unity administration is for the people and by the people. I am your host for this afternoon, Jamiela McPhail.
Working for You.
This afternoon's show will take a slightly different format in that we will focus on a recent town hall meeting, a forum entitled Discussions for Prosperity. This forum was held on Monday, July 18th at the Joshua Obadiah Williams Primary School in Molineux. Let's take a listen.
I would like to start debating with the obvious big topic for you, which is Mary Child's Hospital. I'm sure there are a lot of persons who want to know, when will Mary Child's be open? Technically, Mary Child's never officially closed because we were able to ensure that we put in place a small emergency room section in the former dental unit with all major cases being transferred to JNF. And we had to do that because we could not completely shut down emergency services on the eastern corridor of the island. We wanted to make sure that you had access to emergency cases, even if it's something just minor like suturing, etc. However, I'm happy to report to you that according to the last assessment by Public Works last week, Mary Child's will be officially completed on the 12th of August, and it is the Cabinet's intention to deal with the official reopening by the middle of August. One of the things that I would like to point out to you, which you already know well because you're from this area, is that it appears that there was absolutely no work that was done by the last administration during the 20 years on Mary Child's. And it is evident based on the scope of work that I will outline to you. I'll pick out some of them. Because our initial scope of work, in other words, all the things that we said we were going to do for Mary Child's on first blush, we had to expand it. And when everything came to a crisis for us is when we got a call one morning before Cabinet that part of the ceiling over the female ward had dropped in. And luckily, there was nobody lying in the bed underneath it. So we were able to avoid a major incident. So we would have dealt with an emergency repair to that roof, and it was only on closer examination we saw how badly off the entire facility was. So work on the actual repairs began in late 2015 after that incident. But however, I can tell you that we, for the first time, would have installed 110 voltage in various parts of the hospital. That was not in from before because we have to appreciate that it was a building built by the former PAM regime in the 1980s, and that was not a time when building codes were already putting dual voltage in place in properties, whether they're commercial properties, government properties, or residential properties as such. However, we had to replace all of the wiring, even for the existing 220 voltage areas, because they were corroded badly, meaning that not only would you get shocked, but it could cause a fire at any given time. The repairs to the leaky roof, all of the roof repairs are now completed, I'm happy to say. Repairs to the ceiling, all of the ceilings have been replaced 100%. The fencing of the compound, you heard Mr. Thompson mention that. That was something that was in a terrible condition. We only had fencing on one side. Now the fencing is all the way around. You actually have a parking lot that is now being extended across the breadth of the entire back of the unit, with an entry gate and an exit gate. So you do not come in the same entrance that you go out, because we want to make sure that safety is an issue so that you prevent accidents from happening when you enter or leave in. Installation of new toilets and basins, all of that has been completed. Tiling of bathrooms, we've completed that. And while I'm on the subject, I must add that the government took the decision that the same standard to which Pogson was replaced and rebuilt and JNF would have been rebuilt is the same standard that we have chosen for Mary Charles. So if you go inside, you will also notice that the branding of the facility begins with the colors of the paint. They're identical to what you see at JNF, identical to what you see at Mary Charles. Mojani Construction has also completed the flooring. That is already in. All of the joints are firm in place, and we have left the polishing for the very last because obviously we have workmen going through and through the property still. So we'd leave that for last. Installation of the storage water tanks, we are waiting for those because we do know that we have challenges with water right now and the hospital cannot be without it. We have completed the expansion of the emergency room area. Painting of the entire hospital inside and out, I would say about 95% of that is completed. We still need to repaint the outside steps and the areas over the roofs for the doors. You would notice that when you come into Molineux, there's a little awning that was built over to help protect persons as well as protect and extend the life of the doors. Wherever possible, we have also tried to put in vinyl doors so that you do not suffer from the usual corrosion because of salty air, etc. Installation of new cabinets in the casualty areas, that's being done also in the kitchen area. Replacement of all locks and doors. And of course, the conference room as well as the existing A&D, those will be completed once the project reopens. Once we get the main part of the hospital up and running, then we will finish the conference room downstairs, and we are replacing the dental unit that you once had. And I should also add that for the first time in many years, Mary Charles will have back its own ambulance. Also, you would notice that we would have dealt with the addition of several new doors in order to get in and out of the building. The gas tank area, stands, etc., those things are basically being dealt with at the moment. And of course, we have done, basically the entire hospital is almost like a brand new hospital. Because I will be here all night if I told you everything. But what I can tell you is that up until last week, we would have spent a total of $670,000 on Mary Charles. This includes labor of $311,210, and that's from a contractor right here, your own homegrown contractor, Mr. James. And the rest, which is $348,770 roughly, is for materials. In 2015, as I noted earlier, we would have begun the repairs, especially to the roof area that had dropped in, and that was about $50,000 that would have been spent. And to date, I can say that a total of $709,000, almost $710,000, has been spent by the Ministry of Health on the entire project. And we still have another $35,417 labor, and another $150,000 in materials yet to go in. So you're getting back practically a brand new Mary Charles Hospital. Now, I have to also add that none of this would have been possible with just the government's effort alone. We have several private sector partners who have dipped in their pockets and have decided to contribute. This includes Ross University, Windsor Medical School, yes, you can clap for them. The Whitegate Board, Marriott Hotel, Molineux Seventh-day Adventist Church. And you can notice from your own visits to the facility on your own time that KM Services has already put in all of the landscaping for you. And this is one of your own homegrown businesses. Okay, so that is basically what we have done thus far as it relates to Mary Charles. Now, if you were to go further down the road, I would like to add and basically commend the addition of the MRI service that has been placed at the Biomedical Research Foundation. This is a service that came on stream officially in August of this year, but the equipment has been here since April of this year, but last year, August, is when the equipment would have come here. It's a very expensive investment that the Biomedical Research Foundation has made, and it's viewed as a partnership with the government because we could not afford to bring in that type of equipment on our own. It's a multi-million-dollar investment. It was purpose-built, came in a 40-foot container. At great cost to the foundation, they would have built a concrete pad, invested in three-phase power, because the electricity bill for that project is not cheap. It is a very expensive investment, but well needed, and it could not have come at a better time. Between April and this month, they would have conducted at least 150 MRI procedures. And as if that gap was not enough to be filled, the CT scan at JNF is not working. The CT scan does not belong to the government. The CT scan is a joint venture between the government and a Guadeloupe company. The equipment does not belong to the government. The server that runs the system is broken and needs to be replaced to the tune of $30,000, but it's on the account of the Guadeloupe company, not us. But thankfully, because the MRI service is available, we have diverted those CT scan cases successfully to the MRI unit over here. So herein is another example of filling a void and creating yet another business opportunity for the Biomedical Research Foundation, because they did not bring in the MRI to steal business from the hospital. They brought it in to serve clients for the ability to give proper diagnosis so that at the end of the day, the proper care can be administered to patients. But the equipment and the investments are versatile enough to handle the void created by the breakdown of the CT scan. So that is the other area I wanted to tell you about. And I commend Alex Nisbet and the team at the Biomed Foundation, Dr. Redmond, and all of the others for that investment. One of the problems that we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis is the issue of our mentally ill relatives and friends and neighbors. We've had a lot of criticisms over the years, whether it's from the cruise industry, from tourists who walk on 4th Street or wherever, even our own relatives, even our own business owners, that when you pass people who don't look good, who don't smell good, sound like they're crazy, you're figuring that it's a bad sign for your business. You don't want people bombarding tourists. You don't want to be interfered with by mentally ill people. I have to tell you tonight that the difference between us and the mentally ill might be very, very small. Because if you go to the classic definition of mental illness, even depression is a form of mental illness. And sometimes it goes undiagnosed. What we have noticed, however, is that a lot of our people tend to abandon the mentally ill because you can't control them, you can't give them the services and the care that they need. And as a result of that, the government has taken the initiative, supported in part by the Caribbean Development Bank through the Basic Needs Trust Fund, of putting down a mental health day treatment center in Limekiln, Bastille. This does not mean that we are going to take up all of the mentally ill people and place them there in a residential environment. There is an acute care facility, which is a psychiatric ward at JNF, which will still be used for those acute cases. However, the mental health day treatment center will allow us to take up those persons off the street who are non-violent, get them into the center, provide them with a bath, a meal, occupational therapy, a physical by doctors and nurses who will be on duty. But it also means that we have to have a partnership with families that at the end of the day, you take your relatives home with you. And we are hoping that by doing the occupational therapy, whether it's to teach them crafts, reading skills, farming skills, because the grounds are laid out for all of those things. They are outdoor spaces, gazebos, etc., that hopefully over time, they could be rehabilitated and come back into the general population without causing harm to themselves and their relatives and friends. This is phase 1 of a 2-part project. The next phase, which we cannot afford to do immediately, is that of a sort of halfway house, where when people are well enough and they would have graduated out of the mental health treatment center, but not quite ready to live on their own, that hopefully we can get them into this assisted living environment where they can share common spaces, get a job that earns income, so that when the time comes, if they wish to go out on their own independently, they can do so. So that we will have less and less of our mentally ill people walking the streets without alternatives for them. So that is the other area I wanted to mention. And that facility should be open by the end of August as well. So you have 2 big events taking place before the end of the summer: the reopening of Mary Charles and the launch of the Mental Health Day Treatment Center. But it doesn't end there, because also by the end of summer, we hope to launch the Oncology Service at Jaén, France. Too many of our citizens are coming down with chronic cases of cancer. They have to be flown out. We do not want our people having to go and get people to fill out donation sheets to send them away when they can be treated right here. And based on the information that we are seeing coming out of the hospitals, out of the health centers, and even at a regional level, because what's happening here is not different to what's going on in Antigua and St. Martin and the rest of CARICOM. But the leading cause of death and illnesses that can lead to death are non-communicable diseases. Those diseases you don't catch from other people, but you get them because of lifestyle, you get them because of family history, you get them because of your environment. And they include cancer, they include diabetes, they include heart disease, hypertension, you name it. And that whole group of illnesses is what is claiming the lives of our people. And too many of them are dying. Just this past weekend, we lost 3 young people, all under the age of 40, to cancer. And really, it is unfortunate. So we hope by the end of the summer that we would have put in place the Oncology Service to at least provide chemotherapy to patients who require chemotherapy. So you don't have to fly out to Trinidad or Barbados, Puerto Rico, Miami, or wherever to get that service. At the moment, we are recruiting some nurses from overseas because we do not have nurses trained here yet in oncology care. That is something we are working towards, so that ultimately we will have our own people improve their skills and their knowledge so that they themselves can administer the care to our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. At the same time, what I have to say to you is that although we are putting these different things in place, it doesn't mean that we're supposed to sit back and assume that because you have access to oncology, you don't look after yourself, or because we have access to hemodialysis, you don't have to take care of your health and prevent kidney problems. It means at the same time that the health promotion unit in the government has to do a lot more work in getting all of us to police our health. Look after yourselves, take your medication, make sure you keep up on your visits to the doctor. I know most men don't like to go to the doctors until something happens to them. Similarly, a lot of men who are now presenting with issues of prostate cancer, it's because you have a fear that you don't want any doctor sticking their finger up you know where. But the thing is that when it comes to your health, complaining about your pride and your manhood being violated should come second place, okay? So it's best that you get the screenings done so that you can know what it is you're confronting and you make changes before it is too late. What we don't want is to have a situation where more and more of our people who are in the prime of their lives, between 18 and 50, your most productive years, you spend that time being sick or looking after somebody who is sick, who might be your primary breadwinner in the family. Because when that person is too sick to work, then everybody goes a-begging. So we don't want too much of that continuing. So the health of our country is really, at the end of the day, what is to be determining if we are able to compete as a country with the rest of the world. Because a sick nation can't compete for investment. A labor force that is sick can't compete for investment. The one final thing I would like to mention to you is to indicate that the Cabinet has also launched the planning of the 33rd anniversary of independence. which comes up this September, spread out throughout the whole month. And we would have sent out a release yesterday inviting members of the public, so that includes you, anybody from constituency 7 or beyond, who wishes to submit a suggestion for the theme, you are free to do so. The deadline for you to send that theme in would be the 27th of July, and you can send that into the Cabinet Secretariat. We will recognize the winner in an appropriate fashion, including but not limited to special invitation to all of the official functions for independence. So you will be duly recognized for that. And along the lines of the theme that we would have had last year, which is United in Building a Stronger Nation, it would be good if all of the entrants take note of that and build on that, because all of that is still tied into the prosperity agenda entitled Prosperity for All in the manifesto that we presented to the people of this country.
Working for you.